Right, so lastly, from wherever we left, the next level of progression will go to one second. That is the right. This is religion in accident.
That's the law thought of religion. Law of thought.
Owing to the weakness and selfishness. Yeah, this we completed the first one. So we were so what did we understand when it comes to purpose of accident? Let us start with that.
Purpose of an accident is that
Sir, I'm not revising the entire thing that we closed last week. I'm starting on from there.
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, what did we understand from the last week's discussion in terms of we all followed what is an accident, right? Okay, absolute silence.
yes, right.
I don't know.
Can you just
pin drop silence हो रहा है.
no, sir, thoda sa, if you can just summarize it a bit in at least doing so much of other reading, I've got a little confused here.
Anchan, do you want to do it?
What's up? Accident?
No, can you do it?
What? Should I share the screen?
No, not share the screen. What is an accident?
What is an accident? Accident? What I could read. I don't know how would I be able to just do the justice with the explanation. I don't know, but I can make an attempt. So accident is nothing. Yeah. So accident is nothing but the thought which came and it was there in your universe, but it was not manifested because of that four planes, four requirement of the manifestation or to actual happen. It was not there, but when it coincides, aligned, then accident happened. I messed up.
You're not messed up. At the same time, I'm trying to see section 2.
For anything to happen, there is a four requirements to be fulfilled. Alignment.
That is general exteriorization.
Yeah.
But specifically, accident is that exteriorization takes place when you believe something unforeseen happens, right? And we call it an accident, and you call it fates, etc. That's what it starts with. And then he goes on to say, yes, this is an exteriorization of, like you said, of a thought under a certain, but something we didn't expect. And that's where he takes the example of people falling down, but unexpected happens, but something more unexpected may happen, he gains from it, and things like that.
So when it has,
Right?
when we give that listening that it is unexpected, it was actually we have already released that thought in the universe some or the other time.
That is quite likely. See, basically, for any exteriorization, one thing that we have learned, it has got 4 parameters and all 4 need to be there. What are those? First one is a thought.
Place,
Right?
time, and
A thought is today or a thought tomorrow. Then it needs a place, it needs a time, and there has to be one component which does the job of balancing.
Yes.
Okay, balancing the thought. Now, this balancing is the factor which ensures that particular individual is going to be available at that place. That is the objective of that balancing factor. Okay, that is how it happens. If it is not in line with our expectation, then we call it an accident.
access.
Clear? So now let us understand the purpose behind this accident. One sec. Yeah. Okay, where did this go? Yeah. So what is the purpose of an accident? We will see that. What is the explanation of an accident by way of an example? And historically, if we see, what are the accidents that I have seen? This is the target for today. Okay. So the purpose of an accident is to call one's attention to the thought of which it is one of the exteriorizations of what one to whom an accident happens can always, by searching, find out something about that, though the event may not reveal the whole past. It may reveal that portion of the past which it is necessary for him to know. That is one thing that the accident serves as a purpose. That means it reveals to him some portion of his past. Or if he tries to understand, he will learn and he will learn more. That is basically, if he keeps on introspecting, he is willing to pay, which he must anyways. That means this is the balancing part, right? And right, let us go further. So now let us try to understand this balancing factor as well as the remaining in terms of the purpose. If an accident is to happen and one introspects why it happened, he may try to find out some portion of the reason. He will not get the whole thing. Okay? Sir, anything to add there?
No, correct. Yeah, let's go further.
Right. So now, right, taking it further, let us try to understand that the accident, the explanation of an accident by using an example. So the example that the author takes us through is, imagine the following scenario. Suppose two men are traveling in some terrain, right? One of them slips and he falls into a ravine. Okay. And close at hand, he discovers, okay. Now his colleague tries an attempt to try and see if he can do a rescue, but he finds a mangled body below. Next to that mangled body, he also discovers there is a vein of gold. Okay. Now look at this. What happened? Because of that fall, death of one impoverishes his family. Correct? That is the outcome. Because of the death, it is going to have repercussions on his family members. And because of that, The other person hits a gold mine. Okay. Now let us see how we need to look at that scenario. Right? So one impoverishes his family and causes failure to some with whom he was in business. The other one, he discovers an ore deposit which becomes the source of his wealth. Such an occurrence is said to be an accident. Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Something unexpected. So we are calling it an accident. But look at the impact. Two people who are together in that moment of journey, one is impacted negatively, the other one is impacted positively by virtue of that accident. With me? So far? Right? Now let us try to go a little bit deeper there. It's a very interesting example that he takes. Right? So this is what has happened. Now, let us try to analyze this. Okay, so accident, bringing death to one, sorrow and poverty to some who are connected with this individual, failure to others, and good luck to the comrade whose wealth is gained by this chance. What can we understand from this event? Okay, there are two separate scenarios which will feed this. Let us start with this. There is no accident or chance connected with such an occurrence. Which one is this? Yeah, right? So basically, first of all, there is no accident that is connected. Each of the events is in accordance with the working out of the law of destiny. Right? And is an exteriorization of some thought issued by the person affected, though beyond the limits of perception. That is one way we can deduce from this accident. Right? The accident occurred, its impact has been negative, however, it is not an accident. It is a manifestation of his thought. It could also be the collective manifestation of all the people connected with that particular outcome. So if I take it back to Robert Scott's birth plan, one person, but what he is undergoing is also giving certain balancing experiences to the others involved with him. Right? That means that person could have chosen to live without this man's support, his presence, or this person's availability in his life, whatever the outcome. Right? Both are thoughts. Tomorrow I will sit and think, what will I do if my dad is not around? Let's say at a younger age, and something happens to him, that thought would have got manifested because my father was at that time, at that place, and my thought also added to his circumstance of it to create a balancing outcome. So that is why these thoughts could be within the perception or beyond the perception. Okay, right? तो यहाँ पे गांधी जी बार बार याद आएंगे, ना सोच बुरा, ना बोल बुरा, ना सुन बुरा. He will keep manifesting himself again and again in various forms throughout. Let's take that further. What is the other connotation we can draw? The one who was killed was a man whose allotted time had run its course. Though his death could have occurred a little sooner or might have been postponed for a short time. The manner of his death had been predetermined to be sudden. further, it was necessary on account of his family and his business connection that his relation to them be severed abruptly. Therefore, he suffered a sudden death. So now look at this. In his pre-birth plan, he would have chosen a sudden death. He wanted to experience that. And his family members would have chosen availability of their life without his presence. So all
So
these
this is
have,
not an accident. Is it still
Pardon?
an accident?
It
Is
is
it still an
not.
accident?
It is accident is nothing but exteriorization of a thought today, yesterday, or tomorrow. See, accident, look at it this way. The moment a thought is issued, it goes via a pathway. That
Right.
is natural. एक बार थॉट निकल गया तो वो रामबाण बन गया, अपना डेस्टिनेशन की ओर जाएगा. How, what is its destination? It has got a time. It has got the parameter of time. It has got the parameter of place, and it has got the parameter of balancing the thought with which it was released.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for the exteriorization to be experienced, the individual who has issued the thought needs to be present at that particular place. That balancing of the presence of that person is taken care of by this contribution of balancing. Okay. Very simple. So that is the purpose of what we call an accident. But actually, in reality, it is not an accident. It is being called an accident because in our limited understanding, in our vocabulary, anything unexpected, we call it the accident.
So
Right?
in reality, there are no accidents.
There are no accidents. It's a manifestation just because it's like your bhakti. In Fakir, he says, no, there are three kinds of bhakti. First one is I keep praying to God, so He will give me what I ask. Right? Otherwise, I go to God and tell Him, मैं आपके मेरा सर मैं मुंडन कराऊंगा, though there is nothing. हाँ, मेरा ये काम कर दीजिए बालाजी. ठीक है? So I am playing barter with God. The third one is I have faith in my God. I have faith in my spiritual guide. Whatever I may ask, He will only give me what I deserve and what best I want. That is living in surrender. Okay? That we are missing. The moment we start living and we call things an accident, we have come down to survival mode of life. We are no more spiritual at that moment. We are coming down the ladder. Right? He is too young to die. अरे तेरे को मालूम है क्या whether he is too young? वो दिखता है young, but who knows how many lives he has gone through and what his objective and purpose is. Right? So, from the spiritual perspective, we get all these different viewpoints to enlighten ourselves. Okay. So now, so how can we understand the failure of one could be the success of others and so on, right? So all these are inputs to understanding the event from the cumulative impact of all concerned. Let us now see, because, right, the event happened in a scenario of a businessman, two people involved in a business. Both could have had their own respective lives and their dependence and their dependence on someone, and all those scenarios would have been there. But the thought that created this event is acceptance of trying to take an abrupt death. What are the other factors? the other factors which have influenced and culminated in that abrupt scenario is because the others also wanted to experience the absence of that particular person and continue with their individual learnings. Okay. Right? So let us continue.
So basically, sir, यहाँ पर we can connect Robert Schwartz, like he says everything is explained, why. जो हमें लगता है
Exactly.
कि
No, see, that is what I'm saying. This book, if we really have want to take various perspectives into consideration and then understand the spiritual aspects, this is a wonderful book. It is one to many and many to one. When I say
Yeah.
one to many, this single book can lead you along all the different paths. But we are not spiritually aware to go down those paths. So it is also an integration of various concepts we pick up from various sources for us
Sir.
to decipher and get an understanding of life. Both ways this book works.
Yes, sir.
Right, sir?
Sir, but
That
to
is-
understand this book properly, like we have to do a lot of, I mean, we should have done a lot of reading before doing. We shouldn't be the first one to pick up. Like some people,
if we pick up this one the first time, then we need somebody who will guide us.
yeah.
Just give me a moment. I'll switch off and come back because there's some problem with my internet. It's breaking. I
Okay.
don't know if it's happening to everyone or to me. I'll just
Okay,
switch on
sir.
and come back.
Yeah. But we will continue. So now, so let us try to understand this. Whether the poverty awakens self-reliance in those who have been dependent on the disease and brings out traits which could not be seen while they were dependent on another, or whether they became disheartened, give up to despair, or become paupers, rests largely upon the past of those concerned. Right? You are able to relate to this, right? Are you able to relate to this? Are you able to trigger this school of thought? Is it helping you? So, what it means is in a group, we influence each other's thought and outcomes. With me, followed? Ranjana ma'am, Jasbir ma'am,
Yes,
Kanchan.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Jagdish sir is still joining.
No, I have joined. No, I have joined.
Yeah.
Still having some disturbance on and off. It keeps fluctuating. I don't know why. My signal, as I see, is going up and up and down. Anyway, I'm
Sir,
fine.
if you are connected on the higher speed, lower the speed. Instead of 5G, do it on the 2.4G, which is the standard.
I did that now. I went to 2.4 now.
Yeah.
5G
Then it will work. It should work fine.
That is, sometimes the position, you see, sometimes I don't know. The position also matches
It does. It does.
signal
Right?
position sometimes. Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
let us also look at it from one more perspective that is possible. Similarly, whether the one who discovers the gold, right? Now let us look at it from this we looked at
Improves
in
the-
terms of trying to decipher the death of the person, how it impacts and what could be the various contributions to that factor. The one who now discovers the gold improves the opportunity of wealth. He has an opportunity to look at being honest, to better the conditions of himself and others, to relieve suffering, or to support the educational work, not only his, but also his partner's family. Or, on the other hand, he does none of these, but uses his wealth and power, which it gives him, for the oppression of others. Or whether he becomes morally corrupt and urges others to live in dispassion. No, dissipation. Right? Is all according to the law of thought and has been largely determined by previous thoughts of all those concerned. Okay. So, this establishes the purpose of or the understanding of why an accident. So here, the conclusion that we can draw very clearly rests on a collection of thoughts.
So, Chandra sir, I have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am. Yes.
So, you said the collection of other people's thoughts, right? So,
Yes.
let's say, for example, if I'm thinking to do the right thing, but others are not, then how does it affect me? Like, my thought, the event or that is to occur, right? How does that, can you explain
See,
that?
first of all, you are thinking rationally after you have taken your birth. Okay. Right?
Mhm.
Whereas when you draw out a pre-birth plan, 50% of your life's scenario is drawn there. Okay.
Okay.
The other 50% is your free will. But there is an overall theme of milestones in your life that you have to complete in terms of your having acquired those experiences and the associated wisdom.
Okay.
Now, this is one of the scenarios that you have drawn. And based on your earlier wisdom and thoughts, you may probably come out in flying colors out of this.
But then other people's thoughts, will that affect me? Even though,
No, see, they are part and parcel of the overall pre-birth plan that you have drawn. You will see what happens when you are drawing plan, right? As per Ramakrishna Mission, if I read their divine virtues, they talk about 42 virtues of them that are there in life. And you need to experience them 360 degrees. As per Robert Sparks, he says more than 35 divine virtues are there that you need to pick up. Okay. So, for our practical purpose, right, let us say that you need to pick up certain qualities and you can choose up to 2 or 3 as he explains in your soul's plan and your soul's gift. He says that you can choose up to 3 or 4 of these. Now, these 3 or 4, you will draw the scenario under which you will gain that experience. You will choose the people who are going to join you, which becomes your soul family. You will create and assign a roles and responsibilities to each of those members who are going to give you that experience. Okay. So far you have followed?
Yes, yes.
Right. Now you have assigned the responsibility. Now, actually what happens is, in the same Thinking and Destiny, and in some other book also, right, there is a meeting between the mother-to-be and the child-to-be. Astrally, they keep meeting in the first trimester a number of times and agree in terms of what are the experiences they are going to give each other. Likewise, you create a soul contract with the other members who are going to play their respective roles. Are you with me?
Yes, yes.
Right. Now, when you take birth, you may not remember all that plan. But that plan is there in the universe and it is there with your overself. And hidden in your soul.
Okay.
Okay. See how the things beautifully connect with each other. Right?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Right. Now, when that event happens, it is a culmination and balancing of all the opportunities that you have chosen to learn. Here he is calling it the thoughts, which have defined that. Jagdish sir, anything to add here? Oh, he's still
Beautiful.
right?
No, I can't. Yeah. No, I just wanted to further extend what you said. At the same time, one should get not get the impression that we are totally helpless. So this is a scenario, and we are subject to it, right? What we have chosen previous, and the thoughts of others, the way we have chosen it, this happens. At the same time, by understanding this, what this accident is, that's what he goes for. So, because we can understand this, we have a better way of accepting and controlling our lives. It's not that we are totally helpless, right?
Right.
In fact, Omar Khayyam, in when I won't quote all the verse because he talks about when he says ultimately he says, and this inward bowl we call the sky under which we live and die, lift not thy hands to it in vain, for which rolls on impotently as thou and I. So the importance of that is all this. By
Correct.
lifting our hands to that is not going to help us. Understanding this, what is going to help us? Right?
Right, right.
That's what we are trying to do now. We're trying to understand this. That is where we get a better control. We are not helpless. That's what it is. But we know
No, you
we
are never
surrender,
helpless.
not surrender out of a fatalistic point. Surrender because no, this is what is required, and that is what we have chosen. That's what I think.
Right. So now,
Right.
actually, what is happening here, evidently, is that because of all these people, it is a fructification of their thought processes and the accepted experiences that they have undergone. Now, when you live under the control of the materialistic senses, then it is an accident. But for one who has realized, right, like Patriji was saying, right, I mean, I don't want any more dialysis or anything like this done. I am done with my life. I have completed my purpose. I am ready to go over to the next. Right? That becomes the driving principle of one who has realized what is going to happen and who is above the attachment with this materialistic world. Are you with me? Ranjana ma'am, your question is answered?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Beautifully answered. Thank you so much.
Right. So, yeah. Right.
Sir, but when we like understand all the three books of Robert Swartz you mentioned just now, doesn't it make us a little insensitive to things happening to people? Like I've realized that, I mean, for example, yesterday I went to attend an event where handicapped children were doing a fashion show. Okay, this was organized by Chona, the DPS ex-principal. So like people were so emotional and they were getting so oversensitive about it. Somehow I I was just thinking, why did these children plan, to be handicapped this that way? So the thought process has become different. Like little, you become little separate from the rest of the crowd. To I mean, you cannot.
Now, let me ask this question.
Yes.
नहीं, बिचारा बिचारा बगल में रखो. what were you motivated to do to help them?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. That becomes your part of the service that you should be delivering.
Yeah.
10
So
traffic
I, as an
signals through
educator,
Richard Bach. When an opportunity comes, you should exploit the opportunity.
so as an educator, I always try to like bring inclusiveness to children, make them, I mean, include them in each and every activity as much as I can, rather than treat them separately as children with
See,
special
let
needs.
me quote something from Surrender Experiment,
Yes, sir.
right? This man is taken to,
Michael Singer.
yes,
Yeah.
he goes to the jail. What does he do?
And there also he
Does
starts.
he go pity them and come back?
No, no.
Right? Then Shreyans Daga wanted, he had a desire to visit a jail and spend some time there.
Yeah.
Right? He does quote,
Yeah.
right? That I went to the
Yes,
jail
sir.
and I started doing meditation with those people.
Meditation there.
And they were
Yeah.
very happy with it.
Yes, sir.
Correct? So
Yeah.
he was somehow strengthening their predicament in terms of positivity. Correct?
See,
So that should be the overall approach. And if we are wiser, right, we should find out ways and means of how this can be done. Okay. Without interfering with their karma.
Yeah.
see, can I add there?
Yeah,
It's
definitely,
also-
sir. Yeah.
It's not only there, it's also an opportunity for it's a challenge to us how we act on that basis and we progress. I've got several examples of this. I'll give you one example. I don't know whether I mentioned before. See, there is a NGO which helps. There are what are called as Foot and Mouth Artists Association. I don't know how many of you heard about it. It's called the Foot and Mouth Artists Organization or Society or something like that. So these are all people who have no hands, but they paint beautifully with their mouth and feet. Now, these could be individuals, but there is this group of people, small group of people, who have organized them together and they make them paint and sell their wares and greeting cards. This is an opportunity with this group to make up for something they had lost. The Foot and Mouth, they are very happy. They do very good, they're very creative work. I don't know if they didn't have this, it would have been creative because always nature compensates you for this. Okay, in a sense, I'm associated because I've been supporting that group very regularly. And there is this group which has organized them together. And so what does it mean? So it means that they are actually it's an opportunity for people like this. When you come across handicapped or poor people, etc., instead of pitying them, you may treat it as an opportunity for you to develop yourself, your progress. Like these people have an opportunity, this NGO small group of people have developed this opportunity to this. Then there's another very interesting group of young people, 3 or 4 only in Bangalore, somewhere in the electronic city, etc. What they have done, a lot of poor people around, the laborers, etc. Now, they can't afford a lot of good clothes, etc. But they, people just dole them out clothing, used clothing. You know what these people have done? They create a showroom, take donations. Any dress somebody can wear, but not more than this, for just 1 rupee a dress. Whether it's a sari or a suit or a thing. I was shocked when I discovered that. And those were happy, when I also go and donate with them because this is a wonderful thing that people are doing. So here the opportunity to serve the labor work, the construction labor work, by selling them clothes. So their dignity is there. They're buying. They're not being doled out. And they can buy any kind of fashionable cloth. Many of them are once used, they can do it, or you can donate clothes. They have this porter thing organized. If you want to donate clothes, you can tell them. They'll send this porter, that delivery group. And you can send any clothes, or you can send them money to buy clothes. And these people can go as a regular showroom. Right? Wonderful showroom on ground floor. And these people, only up to 12 o'clock in the morning they work because they are working people. and they go and they can buy any dress they want for just 1 rupee. What do you say to that?
No, it's a
could have
wonderful
just-
principle.
Yeah, wonderful, right? So this is how nature, universe provides you opportunities to do things. You don't look at pity of their people, handicapped, but look it as your advantage to work with them.
See, now let me ask another question where we can have a different, we can spin this, right? So there is everyone's thought that is getting balanced. We generally say, "Ye faltu mein gaya yaar, you shouldn't have gone there, you would have lived longer." Do we make such statements? Whenever we hear about accidents, does it mean those are really avoidable? Just put together all the explanations we have gone through till now to bring an understanding of that. Do you think, right, there is scope for that person to have survived an accident when abrupt death was part of his soul plan?
Yes.
So sooner or later he would had, maybe little before or later. If he has already planned it, it would have happened anyway.
Correct. So there would be multiple exit points that the soul plan has. Correct. And whichever is the one that meets his requirement in terms of his progression that he has made, that will get into act. Likewise, if that is getting fructified, that means it coincides with the exit gates of the situation that everyone has attracted to himself. Nothing is an accident.
Like Richard
It
Bach
is by
says,
virtue of all these. Yeah, sir.
no, Richard Bach says, if you are still alive, that means your mission is not done.
Correct.
If you are still
That
living,
is another way
your
to look
mission
at
is
it.
incomplete.
Correct. That means in your soul plan, that was just a milestone for you to pick up additional lessons. Correct. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Right? So now what has happened? Right? So we have come to this conclusion and we have thereby come to the agreement that it is a set of previous thoughts of all the people concerned. Okay? Previous thoughts of those concerned. Correct. Now, let us try to go a little bit further in understanding. For us to say that it is wrong for us to speak, those who have enlightened themselves, it is wrong for us to take the path saying that it is injurious and wrong to speak of accidents and chance as events happening without cause and irrespective of law. Such unthinking use of the words fosters in people the belief that they may act or fail to act and not be held accountable. See, this is bringing us to the other scenario, which I raised a question. We say if he had not gone, it wouldn't have happened. It is not right. Talking that way is incorrect, or it is limited knowledge. It actually throws open ignorance about the way the universe functions. Right? Any questions? Rita ma'am, Jasbir ma'am,
No,
Swarna. Any question
Yes,
from
sir, it's
anyone?
clear.
It's clear. Very good. Right? So now what? They come to believe that things may happen to them without cause. That is another explanation for accidents,
Yeah.
right? So they may dull their moral conceptions. They limit their views and reasoning to things on the physical plane, and they trust to chance and are liable to become irresponsible by taking this path, right?
Correct.
Let us delve into events which affect groups such as few or many of a race or a continent or a whole world, right? These arrive to those whom they benefit or afflict according to the working of the law of thought as destiny, right? Now we are going to the group. How does it impact? The thoughts press for an opening for exteriorization. Every single thought that you release, right? You may call it the Ramaban which has left the bow, right? Or it is like the water jet you have released from your house. Wherever the taps are open, it will go and flow through that. It will get exteriorized. Correct? Now, you need to remember that when it comes to thoughts, there are 4 parameters. We are like him, we are also trying to hammer it into our head. There are 4 conditions for an exteriorization to happen. Okay. Now, so thoughts press for an opening for exteriorization. If there are many people whose thoughts tend towards a similar event, those thoughts are gathered even from the ends of the earth to bring about the so-called accidents. To everyone comes the advantage or loss that exteriorize some of his past thoughts. Okay? When a group is impacted, it is the collective share of every single person who is there party to that event, directly or indirectly. Please understand that. It will affect him in terms of his outcomes for tomorrow, or that means it is his indirect impact. And direct is those who have directly felt the impact. That is how the earlier this one, that guy's death could be also meeting the purpose of another person's trying to understand living in poverty or becoming self-reliant. It could be so many things that come out. Those who learn lead a satisfactory life. Those who live under their senses, they are subject to suffering. Right? Let us go further. So this is the way the group thing will happen. Now let us understand further in terms of the group. Right? Oh, no, the group, that is how it is. Now let us look at the accidents in the history. Right? Okay. Accidents which happen to a community, a group or a community. Let us look at it from that. Right? Those accidents that impact a group, like a conflagration, a cyclone, an inundation, or a pesticides, are likewise the exteriorization of thoughts of those affected. Under this head fall also the destruction or hamlets and cities and the devastation of countries, like the ruthless raging of Carthage, the sacking of Rome, or the plundering of the Spanish settlements by the Buccaneers, or the conquest of Peru. In these causes, there are just that suffer with unjust. Are you clear? When an event comes,
Yes, sir.
there are just, we feel that the just are suffering along with the unjust. But look at the spiritual interpretation of that, which is wonderful. Right? Right? Okay. If these cases, in these cases, the just suffer with the unjust. It is interesting to note that the unjust are the evil ones in the present. Who are these unjust? The evil ones in the present. And who is the just in the same, by the same token? The just are the unrighteous of the past. Now, do you see the linkage of thought defining destiny, which is nothing but karma working out its overall scheme of things, which is thoughts getting manifested now or tomorrow based upon the cause or effect created earlier. Are you all with me? How beautifully this karma has been explained.
Yes, sir.
So those in spiritual tablets, do you agree this book makes a lot of sense?
Absolutely, sir. Everything is so connected. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I explained to GK sir, do you know what he said? He said, Chandra sir, this looks exactly like spiritual tablets in practice.
Yeah.
Right? It throws so much. And see, it defines our way of life, a better, improved understanding, a quality of life improvement. It gives us so many outcomes, right? So the unjust are the ones who are evil in the present, and the just are the unrighteous of the past. Correct? Thus, by way of an example, we could review the below. Right? What is that example? Let us look at it. Such destinies have been made by the action and inaction, the participation and the indifference of inhabitants in times such as those of the prosecution of the Huguenots or the Netherlands by Alva, or the Quakers by the Puritans in England, right? What are the Huguenots? They were French Protestants. Now, this I picked up from the other sources and books just to get a proper understanding. They were the French Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries who followed the teachings of theologians John Calvin, persecuted by the French Catholic government during a violent period. Huguenots fled the country in the 17th century, creating Huguenot settlements all over Europe, in the United States and Africa. Okay, now that is one side. Basically, this was just an explanation of, because I didn't understand the Huguenots, I just put them together.
No, just a piece of information. John Calvin himself was a very ruthless religious. He is the one who believed that unless they follow a particular path that he said, his interpretation, people are going to hell and so on and so forth. So he was a theologist persecutor himself, and therefore there was a rebel, and which resulted like Robespierre, French Revolution. He himself became a dictator subsequently. So
Right.
Calvin was a very ruthless pastor, a priest,
Oh,
and that's why the rebel was. And the
Right.
followers of became the Huguenots because the other ones rebelled. So it's a very interesting piece of
so
history.
cause and effect. Some other
Yes.
time the reverse would have happened to balance out. I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
Right? Right. So all those to be impacted, right? What happened to all those? What is the impact? All those to be impacted will be brought together in the course of time, and their thoughts will lead them to the place and time of the exteriorization of those who past
Correct.
thoughts. So you are looking at you got the reason behind the whole thing, right?
Correct, correct.
And yeah, and they live in and there, okay, they brought to another place, they are brought together. They will live in prosperity or in trouble and share in the accidents of the final disaster. The reckoning may be held up for a long time, but it is sure to come. By another example, right? Sorry.
This is why so the future already.
Correct, right? One second, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Right. The United States of America was set apart by intelligences to try out self-government by the multitude. And so they have been led to success in their various wars. Their political institutions and their economic undertakings, notwithstanding the actions of the people, right? That is how it met its purpose. Thus, in peace and in war, the escape from the natural consequences of their selfishness and indifference is striking. By this protection and universal success, which school histories and orators seem to take as a matter of course, may not last. There must be an accounting for all that these people did tolerate and they did tolerate and do in violation of their great responsibility. The New England bigots, the Massachusetts slave traders, the Southern slave drivers, the oppression of the Indians, the political and other corruptionists will at some time meet and suffer at the reckoning which is sure to come. Okay? Any question?
Remember, he wrote this in 1939 when
Correct.
US was still in its peak,
Yeah.
right? And we see that kind of slowly building up. How the whole people
That
get
is
together at
manifesting.
that time.
India getting back and getting stronger slowly is also happening. The manifestation of the various thoughts of various freedom fighters, etc., slowly coming to light, right? So many things are happening, which is actually giving us the faith that what we are learning here is 100% something that we can reckon with. Whether that reckoning comes now or comes at a later point in time. How beautifully explained. There is one more bit. We will complete it. I think we have sufficient time for getting.
Yes, we'll complete that.
So now, let us try to take it a little bit differently. Now, what is the other side of the observation that we could look at? In every life, there are numerous events which are generally regarded as accidents. Such events are, to mention a few, birth at a particular time into a certain country, race, family, and religion, birth into favorable or unfavorable conditions, birth into a sound or a diseased body, birth with certain psychic tendencies and mental endowments. People's lives are largely made up of events which they cannot choose and which seems to be determined by accident. Right? This is the school of thought that we start thinking. But now, let us digress a little bit and try to link it with what we learned in your soul's plan, your pre-birth plan, and your soul's journey. Do you see how these play a role there? Anybody?
So please come again the question.
Do you see, after reading this and the explanation so far, do you see the linkage between our pre-birth plan, the parents that we choose, the geographies that we are born in, the circumstances with which we are born in, the handicaps with which we are born in, all of them are a reflection of what? What are they reflecting?
Our soul's plan, self.
Our earlier pre-birth thoughts, which have now
Thoughts.
come into action.
That's a plan. Yeah.
Right?
So this
And-
is totally Robert Swash, like this chapter.
No, see, this book was published much before even Robert Scott was born.
Then Robert Swash has taken up from here.
Quite possible. Right? So among these are opportunities offered to enter a trade, a business, or a vocation. Chance, acquaintances who cause, prevent, or end associations in work or commerce and conditions. Or it is also opportunities which lead to or hinder marriage and friendship, so relationships. People, if they do not look upon events as happenings by chance, explain them as the will of God, and seek consolation in religion. If they don't understand this, they take recourse to this approach. Okay? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This brings us to the end of what we had planned for today. So, there is accident in history, there is accident in reality, but we are calling the word accident. First of all, understand that there is nothing like accident. All these are our own interpretations from one, our worldly existence and the attachment thereof, our ignorance that there is something beyond that is guiding us, driving us, and that happens to be our own thoughts. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We need to live under that. If we see somebody born in a particular country other than there is, all these are for the purpose of materializing that thought or those set of thoughts that have a linkage. The second thing, linking it to our pre-birth plan, is also defining our soul family with whom we are going to coexist in a given lifetime. All these are becoming inputs to that 13-stage diagram that we go through after death. Are you able to link all of them?
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you, the more I'm understanding this book, this is all I can say to this gentleman. So we complete this section. Section 2 gets over with this, I think. Sir, but this revision is absolute must is what I am feeling now. And these diagrams are goddamn helpful. There's no second thought about it. When I did it out of interest, but they're helping all of us get a proper understanding.
Yes.
And fortunately, I'm getting the vision to break it at the right point rather than breaking it into that Ram and in Telugu there is a saying, sir. It says Ramunito Kapi Varunditlan. So what does it mean? With Ram, there were monkeys. Right? With Ram, there were monkeys. Now, the breaking of the word Kapi is monkey. Right? Ramunito. Ram Kesat. Ramunito. Nito is, to is together with. But the word, if broken wrongly, it becomes toka. Ramuni toka. It means toka is tail. So instead of meaning Ram ke saath, it becomes Ram ka pooch. Right? So that ability to break is the author's gift to us. Right? So, I mean, it is such a wonderful concept that we are going through. It is teaching us so much of spirituality, so much of reality together. Yeah. So we'll
So
stop.
no
it.
wonder,
Yeah.
Patri sir, you are like this. He used to promote this book